Good to see you, Alan. One of the things I don't understand a lot about is GeoParks at any depth.
Well, Noel, geoparks are, it's a concept similar to a regional tourism organisation that sits over the land.
Yep.
It doesn't impact ownership or legislation or anything like that. And one of the aspirations of many of us who look at establishing a geopark is to coordinate tourism development, essentially, but it also leads to cultural development as well. So geoparks are really based on the geology of a place.
Mm-hmm.
So in Yanchep would be the caves.
Yep.
In Mandurah would be the thrombolites.
Right.
But it's not all about geology. It's
Yep.
more than that. It's also about the biota that develops with
Yep.
or on that geology. The geology predicts what sort of plants and animals will evolve there.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, that then attracts us as humans.
Yep.
And it also it's predicting where we're going to live as well. So we live on the land using plants and animals based on the geology.
Yep.
And one of the great things now about geoparks is that we have, as I say, moved away from a focus purely on geology to the cultural aspects.
Yep.
And here in Western Australia or Australia, we've got 60,000 years of continuous Aboriginal culture.
Yep.
And we're very proud of that. And we promote that in our geoparks. And the other two parts that come with that, so the Aboriginal Cultural Association and then also the early explorer settlers,
Yep.
Their stories, and then contemporary land use. So we have all of that wrapped up in a geopark and the story of a geopark.
Yep.
And they're different in each area that we
Yep.
go to, based, again, on those soil types.
Okay.
And there are fascinating stories that we have to share with those areas. And when I was working in the wheat belt, working with the Balladong people at Quairading, we established very quickly that there are areas that are no-go areas, and we appreciate that, we acknowledge that. And then there's areas that are already open for the public to go to. But there's that middle area, and that's where we like to work with the local Aboriginal people to have them tell their stories and develop Aboriginal cultural tourism.
Okay.
So the potential is enormous in those areas.
Yeah.
One of the great things, or not great things so much, but the feedback we get is a lot of people who come to Australia would like to experience Aboriginal cultural tourism and associate with Aboriginal people. 90% of them don't get that opportunity. And part of those 10% that do go to souvenir shops. So it's really sad. So the potential's enormous, and again, that comes right back to what I'm saying is that geoparks provide that or coordinate that opportunity to happen there.
Okay.
The geoparks themselves are initiated by local people. So they're driven by local people who are proud of their area and want to display it. And then potentially we can aspire towards being a UNESCO Global Geopark. And currently there are 229 UNESCO Global Geoparks around the world in, I think it's 44 countries, might be 48 countries now, but none in Australia.
None?
None.
Wow.
At that level.
Yep.
But now we have Nannup itself is an incorporated body, so Nannup WA Geopark. It's established and we call them a local geopark, that's the way of defining it. The Binjara Peel group are incorporated, but we haven't gone to that next level of becoming a formal local geopark. And then we're working with Wanneroo, Joondalup and Stirling to look at a Sunset Coast WA geopark. And way up in the Murchison area, we've got the Murchison Geo region and aspiring geopark. So that's now incorporated and becoming more established. And they've published quite a few articles about their sites, the geosites, with a web page, an app. So it's that knowledge is growing. The local Badamaya people, who've got a great art centre in Mount Magnet, have been doing quite a bit of work on the breakaways just to the north of Mount Magnet. And it's one of the first times in recent times that they've said we've got the elders, we've got the middle-aged, and we got the young people all working together.
Beautiful.
So it's a great example of what's been happening.
Yeah.
And again, that's what I'd like to see happen out in the wheat belt,
Okay.
in the Balladon country.
Beauty. Immediately responding to what you've just said to me, Alan, is my thoughts have gone straight to what a great way to start businesses for our young people, you know.
Yep.
To start to look at ways that we can actually promote our areas. And as we promote our areas, we can then take it to a point where those businesses start to really, grow. And as they're growing, it's being done the correct way, with the eldership at the top, you know, with the middle people coming through as the ones that are going to be guiding the youngest ones through being guided by the older ones. And you have that structure still in place. And I see that as the best possible way for us to go forward, is to have that. So, yeah, it sounds great. So that's what GeoParks are about. Love it. Yeah. Okay, so just building on to that, what you've shared with me, Alan, in relation to GeoParks, is how can we expedite that? That's my thinking now. And I believe we can do that through ranger programs where we make sure that the elders are passing their knowledge to the future elders that are right behind them, and then that's being passed then down to the young people who one day will be elders, and they can factor that into what they do in their daily lives in relation to caring for country and ensuring that the visitor gets to know and understand at a greater depth what our culture is all about. There's numerous ways we can do that, and if the eldership is there and intact, then that's going to keep the stability and make sure that it does go forward with cultural authority, and we do build this into something that, you know, is deeper and meaningful for all of us as Australians. So, yeah, love it.
I did my PhD in the wheat belt, and one of the things there, working with the local councils, was we found there's a lot of energy out there.
Yep.
There are a lot of areas that we could take people to with authority from traditional custodians out there as well as landowners. But what we really need is a steering group out there to work towards establishing the Wheat Belt WA GeoPark is really what we're looking for. But getting people in the local government authorities to understand that there's a population of nearly 2 million people here on the coast, and they're only an hour and a half to 3 hours away over there. It's been a bit difficult to break down those sort of insular barriers.
Sure.
But they're still open to it, and that's where I think it's a way of getting the people involved, local people out there. But the other way is also to start looking at the school groups or schools and taking groups of students out and teaching them on country, explaining to them the values that we have for cultural values, and then using that as a base, because one of the things about UNESCO Global Geoparks is about education and science and culture, and they are all important parts of driving a geopark. And I think that's one of the ways of, as I say, moving everything forward.
Sure. Yeah, well, that's music to my ears, because I can see one of the ways forward is to make sure that school children get the opportunity to know what's out there. And then, of course, what a better way to do that than with a park ranger or a community ranger in their uniform, proud of who they are and what they belong to, and you're going to get the best possible outcome and results from those situations, you know, and we can explain everything about what it's about, you know. And so just the thing I'd add there was this: tourism was the great hope many years ago. And I watched it die a slow, agonising death. And people are not wanting to call it tourism anymore.
Mm.
But if we were to call it GeoParks or something like that, then you'd find you'd get a much better outcome for all concerned, I reckon.
True.
And installations like we're talking about with the Genestreams, wow, what a way to just take it to that next level. And you can get people who are higher than secondary schooling involved in those sorts of things because it's more academic.
Yep, true.
Take it to a higher level and it's win-win-win.
I'm glad you mentioned that sort of thing, because one of the great things about GeoParks is the networking opportunity you have, and it's a requirement of UNESCO Global Geoparks to network.
Yep.
So in here I'm president of GeoParks WA, and we hold maybe 2 forums a year where we bring one for the community, for the public, and then another one is a networking one of the main of the geopark operators. So we bring them together. But networking can be done with other geoparks in other countries, and that will bring people here to see the geopark and the attributes, as each geopark is different. Before I mention or go to the project we've all been working on, is the astrotourism component, where Astro Girl has been establishing dark sky opportunities. And we experienced that in Mount Magnet at one of the rock festivals they had up there, with the telescope set up on a hard base so that you could see the sky, and that's been rolled out right across a number of local government authorities now, and it's proving to be quite successful. And to have those established within the geopark itself, the Wheatbelt WA Geopark, and have Aboriginal interpretation of the night sky as well. I think that's another aspect that we can bring into the geopark concept. And the Genestreaming project we're all working on at the moment is another fabulous addition into geoparks, based on geology, deep time, showcasing the flora and fauna, and then Aboriginal artwork, and whether they're augmented reality or physical structures. They're just fabulous ways of introducing people to what is in the area. And I think more of those that are established around the place will provide a link between other geoparks, and I think they'll become a feature in their own selves, to attract people into those areas. So it's a very positive future for us. It's been great, Noel, talking with you, and there are fabulous opportunities coming up. I've been approached by the Tourism Bureau down at Mount Magnet to have a mountain country geopark down there. Dan Darrigan have approached me, and more recently Lancelin have been looking at it, and they were both aware of your talks at the Tower, in night talks, and so they're really looking forward to looking at a geopark up in their area. There are also the Aboriginal or the cultural talks at Yanchep that have been going on as well, and they've been very well received there. So I think COVID had a big impact on us, but I think now we're starting to bounce back and get the tourists coming back again. So it's great. I look forward to the future.
Okay. Yeah, and I think it's ditto from me, because it's all about the future and how we can work together. I've always said the way to the future is together, and GeoPark sounds like the perfect model to do that. We just build it, and away it goes.
True.
So thank you.
Good enough.
Yep. Cheers.